I like MK1. I'm not gonna lie and hate farm for content. Not as much as MKX, but it's still pretty sick. Much better than fucking MK11, dude. I don't know what they were cooking at NRS when they made MK11, but the kitchen must have stank, dog. And one of the reasons I like MK1 is because of the cameos. But before you click off, because you think I'm just clickbaiting like some other YouTubers, listen, I get it. I get why people don't like cameos. I get it. There's some pretty glaring issues with it, and not just competitively, there's issues for everyone. For instance, for the super casual players like the Mortal Kombat fans who just like to mash buttons in story mode because MK actually has pretty sick lore despite them doing the multiverse, reset the timeline bullshit for like the third time. They don't want to learn the nuance of cameos. They don't want to rely on cameos for combos. They don't care about the mix options that cameos give. They don't care. Competitive Mortal Kombat likely makes up less than 0.5% of Mortal Kombat's overall player base. And for the other 99.95% of the players, I'm sure at least 30% of them never pressed the cameo button in their story mode playthrough once. It's just out of the way and a new layer to learn that they more than likely just don't give a fuck about. The issue with that being most of the playable cast of characters are incomplete characters that rely on cameos to be complete, which is a big difference from MKX where you could theoretically never use the run button and have a fully capable character for story mode, or MK11 where you can beat computer opponents without using crushing blows or fatal blows at all. So even at the most casual of casual instances, the cameo system is unappealing and likely isn't even used by a decent percentage of the overall player base. And this is a problem. It creates an unnecessary barrier of entry for people like my uncle, who was a diehard Mortal Kombat fan but would never go to practice mode and lab combos. What the hell is a cameo going to do for him? Next are the casual players who have a little bit of a competitive itch, so they go online, not even ranked, just casual. Maybe if they do go on Combat League, they don't get past Grandmaster rank, but they enjoy the competitive aspect of it. The truth is, the disparity between playing with cameos versus playing without cameos is massive. So if you either don't have time to figure out the cameos or don't really care about trying cameos, you're playing a way different game than someone of similar or worse skills, but maybe they spend a little bit of time learning the cameos. I know what you're thinking, but course, maybe they should just learn the cameos instead of complaining about the game. No, dude, you don't get it. That's not how real life works. We like options as gamers, right? Like when you hop on Fortnite, but maybe you don't want to learn the building system that has an insanely high skill curve, you just go to no build. If you want to play Call of Duty, but you don't want to play Search and Destroy because of how competitive and toxic people are there,
your mom's a goddamn whore.
You don't have to. MK1 doesn't really give anybody that choice. You either learn cameos or die. And for people like a couple of my friends, for instance, they enjoy playing MK1 and they're big Mortal Kombat fans, but having to learn cameos and what cameos offer is just unappealing for them. They don't have an option around that. For instance, if someone wanted to get into MK1 now and maybe grow into a competitive player, having to learn how cameos work creates a difficulty curve that will be unappealing or too difficult while you're also trying to learn how fighting games work, which is already really complex. Next are the competitive players. I'll throw myself into this group. I almost exclusively play ranked or against objectively good players. And like I said, I like the concept of cameos. I think it's cool. I always saw it as MKX or MK11 variation system, but universally applied where every character has access to the same moves depending on the cameo or quote-unquote variation they choose. This really digs into the meat and bones of cameos where you really understand what makes a cameo good for some characters and what makes cameos bad for others. However, the issue is in order to be competitive, you are restricted on which cameos to use. Cameos define the meta so much. You want to use Scorpion? You have a maximum of 2 or 3 cameos you can use to stand a chance at God or Elder God rank. It's like that with every character. For instance, I used to play Astra a lot, but the cameo I used with her was Kano because it was fun. I liked the way it played. It created unique pressure options and some pretty cool mix with the overhead. It was cool. I liked it. But you know what isn't fun? Losing. Kano doesn't really fill the gaps that Chameleon does with Astra, and because of that, using Kano cameo was essentially playing the game on hard mode. The mix Chameleon gives Astra with ball roll, the damage, the mid-hitting zoning tool with Jade Glaive, the safety and ability to get in with fan lift. Kano just doesn't give Astra any of that, just pretty cool pressure options. And that's not enough. This goes into something I find super interesting in gaming, which is the illusion of choice. I might make a video about it in the future, but essentially when a game gives you the choice to effectively quote-unquote make your character how you want them, there's always an optimal route, which is what we as gamers end up following. For instance, Stealth Archer in Skyrim is an example of this, but the same is true for Mortal Kombat 1. I have the option to choose all of these cameos, but for me to be optimal, I have to choose the one that works best for my character in a competitive atmosphere. And this is a turnoff for some people. Not to mention how cameos have effectively changed the way we understand fundamentals and introduce absolutely bonehead, broken mechanics like safe armor launchers that only some characters get, or safe just frame, overhead low mix that acts as a pressure starter. It's just unappealing for some players who have the potential to be consistent tournament players, because there's some shit we just don't want to deal with as we learn the game. Lastly are the high level players, the ones you see in every online event, at offlines, getting top 8s, or making Final Kombat.
Give me that fucking Final Kombat spot, man!
Cameos create an issue for them too, and that issue is balancing. NetherRealm Studios are notoriously bad at balancing games. A good example is Kenshi. Kenshi spent over a year at the top of every tier list, and every attempted nerf didn't affect the way he played because of how cameos facilitate his offensive pressure. This created a difficult situation for NRS. You can't really nerf the cameo because it'll make the cameo less viable for other characters who rely on it. So what do? You kill the character. That's what they did. Now Kenshi is considered low tier, and almost all of the high level Kenshi players had to basically drop him for a chance to get top 8.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
For a company who gave us the likes of MKX Crystalline Tremor and MK11 Fujin, adding a universal variation system was them biting off way more than they could chew. NRS always seemed to create characters in a way that a bunch of bros would, instead of like, okay, but how will this character deal with this situation or this situation? It seems like they're like, bro, wouldn't it be fucking sick if this character had a dash that was like a mix with the hit confirmable, like long range, low, and also like good projectiles? And what if you fucking hit like a fucking truck? Which objectively gets worse when you add cameos that essentially buff these characters to certified bullshit. For instance, you add Farah to that character that I was just mentioning, and that same character gets safe mix too, making them good at everything. Even the one thing that's bad on the character, like maybe their armor move for example, it no longer matters because Farah cancels the recovery of it. Listen, I hated MK11, but at least MK11 felt like it was one patch away from being a well-balanced game. This cameo system in MK1 seems impossible to balance. Listen, I like MK1, but I'm not huffing the copium, okay? I understand what's wrong with it. It's far too complex for new players to learn and NRS to balance, which is such a shame because the concept is cool. I like the concept a lot, but in classic NRS fashion, the execution of it sucks. Mortal Kombat thrives as a simple game. The most beloved NRS titles are Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X. They are simple, high-paced, and fun for everybody. It's when NRS tries new, unique, complex things that they fall flat on their face and make a less desirable title for everybody. If I could give NRS one piece of advice, I'd tell them, forget the custom variations, forget the cameos. For the next Mortal Kombat, just give us Mortal Kombat. Give us the characters we love. Make them accessible for everybody. My uncle can get the controller, mash buttons, and still get a full gaming experience. The casual players can feel like they kind of know what they're doing. The competitive players can play their favorite characters how they want. And the high-level players will develop the meta and they'll thrive in it. But the important part is everybody will be having fun. And that's what Mortal Kombat's all about, right?